All right, well, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you may be. Thank you for standing by, and welcome to today's Tivoli User Community Webcast. Our topic for today is Nothing Good Ever Comes Easy, IBM APM Onboarding Unlocked. All phones are currently in a listen-only mode, and later there will be a question and answer session with instructions being given at that time. You may ask a question at any time during the presentation using the chat window located in the control panel. All chat questions will be answered at the end of the presentation with the rest of the Q&A. Today's session is being recorded, and you'll be provided a copy of today's materials following the call. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. Todd Kinsfather landed at IBM in 1999 after serving in several IT roles over the years. He began his career at IBM as a services consultant, helping customers deploy and customize their application performance management tools. Seeing how customers used APM in the real world was the perfect experience as he moved into product management in 2004, where he's been ever since with the responsibility for products across IBM's APM portfolio. He currently manages product strategy, guiding the portfolio's transition to a hybrid APM solution that seamlessly manages traditional and cloud workloads across on-premises and SaaS. Todd, go ahead and take it away.
All right, great. Thank you very much, and thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. One little piece to get out of the way is the disclaimer that says that we are going to talk about a few futures and that those should be considered as plans and directions and are subject to change. Now, that said, the futures I'm talking about are very near term, but nonetheless, I have to throw up the disclaimer there. So here is the quote that the title is based on. It's funny, if you look up the quote, "Nothing good ever comes easy," you'll get a lot of them, because this type of, I guess this saying has become pretty pervasive, and a lot of people use it. I think I drive my kids crazy with it. You know, they'll come to me asking for money, asking to buy something, and I'll tell them to go do some chores and earn the money. And after a little bit of grumbling, I tell them nothing good ever comes easy. So not quite as grandiose as when Theodore Roosevelt, the former U.S. president, used it, and you know, he was talking about people's lives and things like that. I use it, you know, I use it because I think it applies to a lot of situations, and in the context of what we're talking about here, what it really applies to is that, ironically enough, things have gotten very difficult for many of us in striving to make our customers' lives easier. So that's really what we're talking about here, and what I'm going to talk about specifically, very specifically, is what we've been striving to do to help make your life easier and show you how easy that can be. So just a little bit of more intro here. You know, what are we doing that's making our lives hard, you know, as we strive to make customers' lives easier? Well, you know, this is the type of thing, if you're at this webcast, you probably already know this, and you really want to hear about the onboarding process, how you can get up and running quickly. So let me get you there quickly. I mean, thing is, what's getting hard as far as applications and managing applications is all of the devices, all of the data coming in, the need for insights, the need to pull in services from all over the place. That makes for a very complex environment. You're constantly trying to roll out new applications, you're trying to move quickly, and you got to manage them, and that becomes more difficult. The good that comes out of it, of course, is the benefit you're giving to your customer, which means better customer retention. You're delivering a greater experience for them, they're happy, more revenue for the company, and of course, what comes with that is you're delivering more functionality on a faster and faster basis. That's one of the benefits of being able to leverage additional services and get greater insights. But of course, all of that comes with a cost, as far as needing to, you know, work with others even more than you always have. That's always been a need, but it becomes even more relevant here. As always, you've got resources for your applications that span on-premise, cloud. You've got various services you may be leveraging. So all sorts of different things that you have to leverage to really deliver the type of service that you want. So that, of course, demands better security, better visibility, fast access to data so that you can get the insights you need. So certainly our goal in that, and the role of application performance management in particular, is to help you get the visibility you need, the control over the infrastructure, and allow you to manage it so that as you roll out this better experience, you don't have to worry about the end user experience, the response time, the performance, and you don't have to spend a lot of time dealing with those problems. You can really focus on what you're trying to do, which is give your end users a better experience, make your customers' lives easier. But you sure don't want that to be, you know, a further challenge that makes your life hard. So that's what we've been striving to do in rolling out our APM SaaS offering. It's called IBM Performance Management on Cloud. The goal is to make it so that you're up and running and getting value, managing your application within a matter of minutes. So I want to take you through the process. I'd like, you know, everyone who's interested to be able to go through this and, you know, try it out. So I want to show you how simple that is, how you can start getting value right away, and also show you some of the changes that we're making as we've been working on this. So with that said, let me jump right into that part of it. And then as we go through this, if you have any questions, please, you know, write them down or send them, and we'll get to that here pretty quick. So first and foremost, if you go to ibmserviceengage.com, you can go to Performance Management, and there is a Start Your Free Trial button. And that's what I'm showing you right here. I've already navigated to that in this screenshot. So when you choose to do the free trial, one of the benefits that you'll have right away is it's going to give you all of the capability that we provide in APM, the resource monitoring, transaction tracking, and deep dive. You don't have to choose which capabilities you want or anything like that. We give you all of it by default as far as those capabilities from the APM product. Now there are a few add-on capabilities that you can request, so I wanted to point that out so that you're aware of it. And you know, it's mentioned there, but I wanted to make sure it's clear to everyone. First of all, the button says free trial with PI, and you may not know what PI is. We're kind of notorious for using acronyms at IBM. So free trial with PI means that you can also include IBM Operations Analytics Predictive Insights on Cloud as part of your trial. Now that's pretty cool, and there's no additional cost with that. I've been through a demo of that before, so I'm not necessarily going to go through that here, but certainly it adds some very cool capability as far as being able to spot problems before they occur, and also identify related metrics that may indicate where the problem is. So that's something you may want to consider as well, trying out. You can also request other services as well that aren't part of the default trial, like reporting and alert notification. Those are both additional services that you can request as part of the free trial. So just wanted to make you aware of that. So the first thing you'll do, pops up right away, is the registration page. Pretty simple form. You see these all the time. When you fill out this form, it will create an IBM ID for you. So if you already have an IBM ID, you can use that. Now, it doesn't really make it that apparent, so you may go through filling out the whole thing only to be told that, you know, that email address is already on record. So I wanted to point out that up here on the far right side is a little thing that says if you already have an IBM ID, just click here and sign in. So for those of you who already have that, that'll speed you up a little bit there. Otherwise, go ahead and fill out this information. Doesn't ask for a whole lot of information, and then you'll receive a confirmation email that'll take you through the verification process. There's nothing earth-shattering about the confirmation email. Here it is. It's pretty simple. It's hard to read on this screenshot I've got, but there is the button there that says to validate the email address. So you can click on that, and that'll take you back to the page that I'm about to show you. It also provides some additional links down here. Now, these links are not ones that you should use now, because if you try launch service, it will not likely have been provisioned yet. Depends on how long it takes before you click on this, but you know, it's not going to be provisioned until you validate. So if you click launch service, you're not going to be able to obviously see anything yet, because the server will not have been provisioned for you. So click on validate email address to move on, and that'll take you to this verification page. Now, one of the things here, it'll say you should receive an email shortly with instructions for using performance management. So you should get that pretty quickly. At this point, what's happening is that we are provisioning the server for you, and once that happens, you will then get the verification email that'll then allow you to go to your My Services page. So one of the pieces of feedback we got, one of the questions we got from a customer, actually it was more feedback than a question, was, you know, when you get to this point, you've got a manage and a launch button. Which one do I do? And in their case, they tried clicking on launch and it didn't do anything, and that was because at this point, you know, the server may not have been provisioned, but you can go ahead and start downloading and setting up agents. So there's also a lot of other options there, and really at this point what you should be using are, you should click on the manage button, which I've highlighted here, and you should click on download agents. So there's instructions, which provides a little bit of additional information, some tips on what we support and things like that. But download agents really includes the installation instructions. So, you know, rather than clicking on instructions thinking you're going to get the installation instructions there, my suggestion to you is click on download agents, because what you really want to do at this point is get up and running, get your agents installed, and as soon as they're installed, then you'll be able to start getting value. The operating system agents, like the Linux agent, the Windows agent, very easy to install. You can have those installed in a matter of minutes. We have had customers get, you know, within a few hours have over 200 deployed. So you can see value very quickly, depending on the size of your environment. Should just be a matter of minutes, though, before you start, until you start seeing value from the ones, you know, from the first ones that you set up. So here, when you click on download agents, you'll see this. Now, what happens here is when you click on one of these, it's going to bring up the installation instructions. So that'll look like this, and you'll get the installation instructions. And I know what I'm showing here is kind of small, but that's why I wanted to point out that over here in step 5, there is some additional information. So make sure you read through the instructions here, that some agents require additional configuration steps, and then it'll give you a link. Now, the link that we have in there right now will take you to the Knowledge Center for Performance Management on Cloud. That's where it's going to take you. But I've provided a link in this presentation that'll take you directly to the Configuring Your Agents section. Really, the link that we have in there should do that, but today it takes you to the top page of the Knowledge Center, at which point you can navigate to Configuring Your Agents. But I've provided the link here in the presentation, which we will distribute, that'll take you directly to the right page in the Knowledge Center. So finally, at that point, once you've got your agents installed, you can click that launch button that I showed you, and that'll take you here. This page has several options for you. I would say your best starting point is view application status, because from there you can see immediately the data from the agents that you've installed, so you can start seeing the health of your environment. Another possibility, though, might be define application. If you're looking not just to see how your resources are doing, but also set up, you know, an application based on several different resources. Maybe you installed WAS server, DB2 server agent, the Linux OS agent, several different ones, and they're all part of a single application. Then go ahead and do the define application, and that'll take you through setting up the application so that you can see the overall health of the application, not just the resources. So with that said, I went through that pretty quickly. It's pretty simple, and you know, it really only takes a few minutes. You can be up and running, depending on download times and things like that. Really, just within 15 to 30 minutes, you can start seeing value. As far as the provisioning of the server itself, that takes about 15 to 20 minutes. So I would say within 30 minutes, you should be able, from start to finish, you should be seeing value. Now, that said, a couple weeks ago, we sat down and we went through that process, and there were a few points in it that we thought we could make simpler. Some of them I pointed out as I just walked you through it. So, so we decided to, you know, write up what we thought we could do to make it simpler and see how quickly we could get that out. And so I'm going to take you through some of the changes. Well, I'm going to take you through all the changes that we have right now to make this even simpler. And our target for this coming out, this simpler registration process, is next Monday. Now that is, you know, as always when I talk futures, just take that as it could, that date could change some, but like I said, we're very close. We're 5 days away, so you should see those changes in a matter of days if you try the registration process next week. So one of the first things is the verification page. So as I mentioned before, you saw that verification page. There wasn't a whole lot of information there. It just tells you that you'll be getting an email. So you're probably just going to wait and wait for the email to come. But this gives you a little more information. It'll tell you what you can do while the server is being provisioned. So you can actually get started. You can log into My Services, and this will be a link that takes you to My Services, where you can then start downloading agents. And it tells you, you know, in order to do that, here's what you need to do. So just really the goal is to provide a little bit more guidance so that if something, you know, when you click, you'll know what to expect and you'll know what to do. So that's really the goal there. When you do that, instead of the manage and launch buttons, because like I mentioned, you can't launch until the server's been provisioned, but that could be confusing if we give you both options. So we'll just give you the one option of manage, and then provide two things, instructions and download agents. So you can use the instructions to get a little more information, or download agents. When you go to download agents, what you'll see, now if you remember, the previous screen I had two screenshots kind of to fit it all in there, and it had 5 steps, the last one being configure. So what we've done is we've simplified it a little more. We've made it to where you've got options up at the top, first of all, so you can choose whether you're installing on a Linux environment, a Windows environment, or AIX. I believe in the final implementation, those will be tabs rather than the radio buttons there. But we're working on that. And then from there, it's got some steps on what to do as far as pre-install, what to do as far as install, and then configure. Not every agent needs configuration, and we even tell you that. If it's a Linux agent, if there's a Linux OS agent, once you've gone through the install, you're done. Nothing else to do. You're ready to get going. If it's, for instance, like the Webster application server agent, there is some additional steps required. I should say there are some additional steps required. So when you click on a button, click on the tab, and it'll show you the agent, and it'll provide a link to the Knowledge Center. Now, unlike what I mentioned before, where it took you to the top-level page of the Knowledge Center, this link will now take you directly to the section in the Knowledge Center for that agent, that particular agent. So if you were doing it for WAS, like I mentioned, for the Webster application server, you could click on that, and it'll take you directly to the configure your agent page for the WAS agent and give you the steps for that. Now, you might be one of the questions might be, well, what are the configuration steps? It does depend on the agent, but it's very simple. For the WAS agent, for instance, there's a script that you run. It'll ask you, I don't remember how many questions, but it's not very many. You know, there's a few questions it'll ask you, and then off it goes, and then you're done. So there's not much to do there. I've run through that script before myself, setting it up on a Liberty server, and it took me for that part of it, it took almost nothing. But overall, the process took me, the first time I did it, 17 minutes when I timed it. So, and that was downloading the agent, running through the install, and then running through that script. So, and I'm not near as technical as most of you, so it'll probably be even easier for you. But the point being, the configure step is not a difficult step at all. Very simple. And from there, you can then launch your dashboard. And this button will be disabled until your servers have been provisioned. But while you're waiting, you know, as I mentioned, it might take 15 to 20 minutes typically for your server to be provisioned. While you're waiting on that, you can click on, you can go ahead and go through the process of downloading at least a few agents and installing. Now, this is what I'm showing you is the trial. It's the same thing if you purchase the SaaS offering and you're setting it up. Same general process, same amount of time to get going. So very much the same thing. So with that said, the final step, which this is actually probably not going to make it into Monday's enhancements, but the goal will be, instead of the launch page I showed you before, which gives you a number of options of where to start, it'll take you, when you click that launch button, it'll take you here, so that you can actually get started going into the application and you know, and using it right away to get value and to see value. So that's like I said, that may not make it on Monday. That's something that we're really targeting for well, as soon as possible. And that's, you know, another thing that I would like to point out is, if there's any questions you have or any feedback you have on how we can make this process even simpler, please let us know, because we do plan to, in the spirit of agile development and continuous delivery, we plan to iterate on this and deliver enhancements as needed, really. So just let us know if you have any feedback as you go through this. But what I'm showing now is, whoops, has now gotten smaller. But this is where, you know, I've now gone to our live demo. And I've mentioned this every time I speak about it, so you may have heard it already. But if you haven't heard it, when you go to IBM Service Engage, you can do the live demo too. So I just took you through the trial, so how you can get it actually installed in your environment and up and running, so that you can see how it works and use it on your own systems. But if you want to, you know, kind of see how it works before then, what you can do is go ahead and do the live demo environment. So, you know, the goal of this, you need to manage your systems. You want to get it up and running. What are you going to get at the end? What, you know, why go through that process? Yeah, it's simple. It only takes 15 minutes or so, maybe 30 minutes at the most to get it up and running. But what do you get at the end of that? So this might be where you start. Now, depending on what you install, you'll have other agents, of course, other than maybe Linux or Windows or AIX, whichever, you know, whatever you installed at the start. So when you define an application, like I showed at the beginning of the trial process, you know, there's a view where you can define an application or do a number of things. Well, one of the first things you might want to do is define an application. And with that, I'm not going to go through that because that's not really the point of this call, but once you do that, then you can see, this is the type of view you'll see. You'll be able to get information on response time, transaction tracking, because as I mentioned, all of that is part of the trial. Whoops, says that my screen sharing is paused. Hang on just a second and let me fix that. Okay. All right. So from there, you'll be able to see response time. You'll get a topology view, and so on. And you can, of course, you can drill down if you have.
I think we've lost your screen actually.
You've lost the screen completely?
Yeah, we're not seeing your screen at all.
Okay. Let me see if I can get it started again here. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I wonder if I go here. No, that's not the one.
There we go.
Okay, I think I see what happened. They wanted to update my system with some updates for the browser, and I didn't notice that down at the bottom right of my screen, so that was blocking things.
Right.
Sorry about that. All right, so about done anyway. It's unfortunate it stopped me right there when I was a click or two away from being done. But all right, so what I was showing really is just the real point here is, going back to what I was saying, what do you get once you install this? Well, as I mentioned before, you get the resource monitoring. You also get transaction tracking if you've set that up. So you can see response time, you can see the topology views, and if you're doing this for your WAS server or maybe Node.js, .NET, or Ruby, you'll also get the deep dive. So you'll also be able to see additional information if you drill all the way down. Now that one doesn't have any instances, but you can actually get to the code level information from there. So with that said, the other thing that you can also get, of course, as I mentioned, if you choose to do it with predictive insights, is that capability as well, which is pretty cool. So you'll see like an event that says that predictive insights has identified an anomaly. You can go launch into that, and let's see here. It doesn't want to take me to that. There we go. Cool. And you can, so let me get to that. There we go. I think many of you have already seen this. So, but with the predictive insights, what you get is the additional predictive analytics. So you can see, it'll notice trends and it'll identify, first of all, what is the baseline, and then from that, if you're deviating from that baseline, it'll alert you. So in that way, you'll get events letting you know that this is deviating from the norm, and it looks like in the past, this has led to a deviation out of the baseline. And one of the really cool things that it does also is it identifies related metrics. So knowing that you have response time and you're trending towards a problem, that's great because you can start working the problem. But it can also show you related metrics that might indicate what the cause of the problem is. Like in this case, the pool hit ratio can help you get to root cause even faster. So really something I encourage you to try out, because this can save you a ton of time, can make your life easier. And of course, as I just showed you, walking through the process, really painless to get there, and it's going to be even easier in a matter of a few days, we hope, hopefully by the beginning of next week, so to get this up and running. So something you can try out in your environment. If you've got a test environment, get it up and running. There are a few areas where it may not be intuitive. Hopefully in walking you through it here, I've pointed out what those are. So with that, why don't I go ahead and open it up and see if there are any questions. Switch back.
All right. Excuse me. Thank you, Todd. We will open up for questions. If you would like to ask a question, please so do using the chat window located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Todd, how different is the licensing policy for APM SaaS compared to the on-premise offering?
Okay. So for those of you familiar with on-premise, the way that we do the licensing there is what we call a perpetual license. So you buy the license and then you own that license forever, and you can also pay support and maintenance on it ongoing. The metric that we license with is typically managed virtual server. So for all of the new products, the version 8 products that we have out in the market now, IBM Monitoring, IBM APM, IBM APM Advanced, and IBM Application Diagnostics, those 4 offerings are all licensed using the managed virtual server metric, which really means count up the number of servers, or if it helps, because the metric is called managed virtual server, but it really means any type of server. It can even mean physical. So if it helps, you can think of it as count up the number of OS instances that are running resources that I'm monitoring. Okay. So that's typically how we license. Now, if you're familiar with the older products like the ITMs and ITCAMs, those are licensed, which is IBM Tivoli Monitoring and IBM Tivoli Composite Application Manager. Those products were all licensed based on resource value units, which really were the number of processor cores instead of servers. So you had to count up the number of processor cores. So that's how on-premise is licensed. In SaaS, it's licensed. The metric is almost exactly the same as the managed virtual server. The only difference is that it's average managed virtual server, which can come in really handy if you have peak periods where you need more licenses than normal. In on-premise, you would need to buy enough licenses to cover those peak periods. For SaaS, because we can track the usage and report on the usage monthly, what we do is we determine the average per month of the number of servers that you have. So if you have a peak period, that's going to influence the final count, but you don't have to have enough licenses necessarily to cover that peak period. You just have to count up the number. If you have 10 servers, I'm not going to be able to do the math in my head here, but just as an example, if normally you're using 10 servers and during a peak period that doubles to 20, you don't have to buy, and that period lasts for, say, let's just say a week. Well, you don't have to buy 20 licenses to cover all 20 servers during that peak period. That's only going to add maybe, like I said, I can't do it in my head, but maybe 3 licenses or so. So you probably need 13 licenses or something. You'd have to do the math to cover the average number throughout the month. So that's one difference. And the other thing is that it's subscription-based, so it's a monthly price that we charge. Now you can purchase a 1-year contract, 2-year, whatever works for you, or even a month-to-month, either way. But you're essentially doing a monthly subscription to the service. So that's how the two differ. Very similar, but monthly pricing. Otherwise, the metric is pretty similar, other than the fact that we're able to provide the advantage of averaging for SaaS. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah. What are the pros and cons between APM SaaS and on-premise?
Well, the biggest one for the biggest advantage of SaaS, number one, is really what I just took you through. If you have nothing up and running today, if you don't already have a monitoring environment on-premise, or even if you do, but you've got a new service that you need to get up and running quickly and you find that it takes longer than you would like, you can get this up and running in just so quickly that, if you need it right now, if you are just trying to find bottlenecks or you actually have a problem that you're trying to resolve, you don't have to wait and try and get it, try and get the environment set up. And it may not take terribly long for on-premise, depending on the size of the environment, but this doesn't require that you manage the infrastructure or install it or have the servers available or have to get them provisioned to set up that infrastructure, because we'll handle that part of it for you. All you have to do is sign up and then install the agents on the service that you want to monitor. So it allows you to get up and running a lot quicker with SaaS. And then as far as the ongoing management, we handle the upgrades to the server. We'll even handle the upgrades to the agent. Now you control that, because you're not, obviously there need to be maintenance windows and things like that, so we're not going to push changes out willy-nilly without you agreeing to it, but we will handle the agent upgrades as well on your schedule. So it takes away a lot of the ongoing maintenance planning that you have to do to manage an infrastructure. So if managing the monitoring of your environment is not what you want to do, you want to develop applications, you want to manage those applications, we take all the work out of it, and all you have to focus on is, what you should be focusing on is, your core area of expertise, not managing the applications and managing the application infrastructure. So that's the main advantage. Now, there are cases where an IT ops team might manage the application performance management infrastructure, and in those cases, on-premise may be the right fit for you. There's also some countries or some businesses where it's restricted, so on-premises is the right fit. The capabilities, our V8 capabilities are the same, so you've got very similar capabilities, but it really comes down to which is the best fit for you. Is on-premise right or SaaS? But as I pointed out, in a lot of cases, especially when you need to get up and running fast, SaaS can be the right answer.
Awesome. Do customers have to have data power in order to acquire APM management?
Do they have to have data power? Is that what you said?
Yes, that's correct.
No, definitely not. In fact, we don't rely on data power at all. Now we do. We can we can monitor your data power servers. So that's something we can do with the SaaS offering, but certainly not required as part of this.
Excellent. Could you explain how to deploy agents remotely?
How to deploy agents? Okay, so typically, let's see, there's several different ways that we can do that. I think that's something, though, I mean, there's various techniques that we have. There's also various tools we have, like Endpoint Manager, that can help with that. But normally, you'll just use the services of the operating system to deploy the agents remotely. So I think that's something. I guess it would depend on your environment. We also do have the capability to do remote deploy. So after installing the OS agent, you can then also remote deploy other agents. So there's various ways we can do that. I think what would be best is for you to get in contact with me, and then we can figure out what would be the best bet in your environment. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Sure, and we can facilitate that connection too. What is the total number of agents that the SaaS solution can support?
Right now it is 2,000 agents, so depends on how many agents you put on the server, but probably somewhere between 1,000, somewhere around 1,000 servers or so if you put like an OS agent and a WAS agent on there. But 2,000 agents is where we are now. Our target by the end of October is that we'll be up to 3,000 agents, and we'll continue working to extend that. But for your current, if it's a current need, 2,000 is where we are. 3,000 hopefully coming soon.
Awesome. All right, this is kind of a long one, so bear with me. How well does this do an end-to-end deep dive? So for instance, I have a Congos environment with an N tier and 10 dispatchers on WebSphere and an Oracle database. Can I define this as a single application, or does the IBM application and the common third-party support drill down? And there's a follow-up down there that's read deep dive rather than drill down, not referring to Cognos drill down, but the APM detailed view.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah, first of all, as far as covering that application end-to-end, yes, we have agents for almost everything you listed there, certainly Oracle, the WebSphere servers. Now, we don't have an agent specific to Cognos, but we do have an agent builder where you can create, you can create a custom agent. It also may be possible that we can, with that, we can probably pull some important metrics. It may also be possible to pull them using one of the other agents There's also the log file monitoring that can be done as well. So as far as managing the application end to end, yes, we can do that. Now, I think from what I understand as far as the question of deep dive, not drill down, what you mean is, you can drill down and see metrics, but what you really want to see is code level detail. We can certainly do that for the WebSphere servers. We can get you down to the line of code that might be causing the problem. Also calls out to like your Oracle database. We can show those calls out, how long they're taking. Since we have an agent for Oracle, we can show you, you can certainly see more details if the Oracle server seems to be the bottleneck, but also we can show you the actual query coming out from the WebSphere server, and you can see maybe if a query is taking longer than you think it should or longer than any others to execute. That may be something that could be optimized. So we can give you that type of information. We can also give you the details on the Oracle server as well. We've talked about Cognos. Now, certainly, if there's calls out to Cognos, we can see those from the WebSphere server as well. So we can give you a lot of information, and especially for the application running on the application server, we can give you the code level details of that as well.
Great.
So hopefully that answered the question. If not, because it sounds like there is a very specific application in mind, then let me know.
They confirmed that it did answer their question, so
awesome. Cool.
Another one, if IBM manages the upgrades for the service, what is the SLA for upgrades, and how much time is the service down while IBM applies the upgrades?
Well, we do apply the upgrades. There is an SLA. It's not an SLA specific to the upgrade. And now I'm trying to think of what what the target of the SLA is, because it's there's like a 99.9 or I'm gonna have to go read the SLA again to give you the details on the SLA. But we do have an SLA agreement that is part of the SaaS offering. As far as downtime during upgrades, we do have maintenance windows, and what we'll do is we'll schedule it with you. So we'll work with you to work with your maintenance window, and we won't upgrade your backend or your agents until you approve of the time frame in which we're going to do it. So, and as far as downtime, that's something I would have to ask the DevOps team. I know that it's very small, but the DevOps team is our team that manages our backend, just to be clear on that. So I'd have to check with them to get you a really concrete answer. I know that it's very small. With what we're working on, which is a side-by-side upgrade process, that's not out yet. That's something that's part of our October release. So again, kind of a future thing, but the goal there is, what I've seen is that it's less than 30 minutes of downtime. In fact, I think from your side, the server actually being down is less. I think it was actually 30 minutes of time to do the upgrade. So the actual downtime would be almost zero downtime, because what happens is you have two servers running side by side. Once the second server, the upgraded server, is ready to take over, you shut down one and you switch over to the new one. So it's almost zero downtime there from your perspective. Now, we're not there yet, but that's the goal, is zero or near zero downtime. So I would say at this point, I'll give you an estimate. Take it for what it's worth, and contact me if you want me to chase down a better answer. But I believe that right now you're going to see under 30 minutes of downtime during that process. It's probably less than that. I'm probably overestimating, but I'll say that it's less than that, and that within a couple months it should be near zero.
Excellent. How is traffic handled? Is it encrypted?
Yes, it is encrypted. In fact, well, rather than bring it up here, well, I guess I can. I have that presentation, and I already had it open because I was looking at it. So let me just switch over real quick to another. Here it is. And the agent traffic is encrypted. Here's all of the security information. Let me get this in a better view. Let's see. Okay, so you can see there are several different methods that we have for encryption. And also the agents, another thing that I will point out is the very last bullet on section A there. The agents have no listening port, so they are invisible on the network. It's not something that somebody can figure out the listening port and get a hold of your system through. So, so that's for the agent communication. We also show the browser communication to the APM UI for the browsers and the agent password encryption. So I'll leave that up for a minute, but I can also send that to anyone who's interested in it.
Excellent. Lost my spot here. What is the scalability of this? How many endpoints will an instance support?
That's pretty much the same answer as it's worded a little different, but it's pretty much the same as before. We are at 2,000 agents, so the number of endpoints really depends on the number of agents that you're using. We usually estimate 2 to 3 per server because you're probably going to want to have an OS agent to gather the basic metrics for your infrastructure, and then you're probably going to want to have at least one other agent on there based on what's running on that server. You know, is it a database, an application server, a web server, whatever it is, you know, whatever you're running on that server, whatever application resource is running there. With virtualization, certainly there might be more. You might even have like a VMware agent or something like that to get the hypervisor details. So that's why I say it might be 3. So it really does depend, but typically you'll have 2 or 3, which means you're going to be able to get around 1,000. If you're doing if you're averaging 2 agents per server, that would be about 1,000 endpoints. But it just depends on the number of agents.
Excellent. And does IBM make sure the agents are running and fix them if they're not?
Yes. Yeah, we do. The agents. We do heartbeat the agents, and so we can tell if they're down and bring them back up.
Great. Is there or are there plans to allow the SaaS offering to alert to external systems via SNMP or services such as ServiceNow via, say, REST?
Yeah, that is something, I believe the SNMP we can do today. That was one I had to look into last time, so I did. So the SNMP we can do. The REST APIs, that's something that is on the roadmap. So we want to be able to expose the data via REST API so that it can be pulled from other sources, third-party sources.
Great. What is the communication protocol leverage for the agent communication to the SaaS solution?
Well, I believe that's covered here in the slide that I'm showing.
Okay.
If it's not, then please let me know. There's also a little diagram here. I don't know that that helps, but it does show you like the ports that we use. So that might help as well. But I think the slide I was showing really gives you the communication protocols that we use.
Great.
Let's see if I can. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Can the system do discovery to do some degree of automated agent configuration?
Not at this point. We can integrate with things like TADM, which stands for Tivoli Automated Dependency Discovery Manager, which is another product. So we do have integration with other tools that do discovery. We also do have the response time monitoring, which comes with all of the offerings. So we do have that agent. So I'll have to see if we leverage any of the discovery there. I know on-premise we can. But unfortunately that's something I'm going to have to. I don't want to say yes, we can do it now in SaaS with that agent. If not, then I'll have to look at when it is planned on the roadmap, because like I said, it is something that we do in on-premise. We use that agent to discover. The agent I'm referring to is called the Web Response Time Agent, and it watches traffic, the traffic flow, and it will do some automatic discovery and build a topology view as well. based on the traffic flow. So we can do that and provide you with some automatic application structure discovery as well in on-premise. I just need to verify if that also is available in SaaS.
Okay. Can the SaaS APM agent be installed on the same server as an existing ITM6 agent?
Not today. That's what we call coexistence, and there are some cases where it works, but I want to make it a simple answer. So right now that's not officially supported, and it is something that we're working on for first quarter of next year as our target on that. So if you have a more immediate need than the beginning of, or well, not the beginning of next year, but 1Q next year, then let me know, because like I said, there are some combinations that do work, and we can work with you to make sure that we can help you out with that and maybe get you some early support if that's something you need before then. But the official support for all V8 agents working with V6 agents is targeted for 1Q next year.
Excellent. Excuse me.
Now, actually, one thing I should point out before we move off of that question real quick is you can use some of your V6 agents, the ones that we have views for in the APM UI. You can use those to feed information in to the SaaS offering. We have what's called a hybrid gateway, which you'll see in the install process. So, even if you set up the trial, you can actually use the hybrid gateway, and it'll feed information from your already installed V6 agent to the up to the SaaS offering, so that you can view that information. So that does work, but the question was really asking about coexistence of V6 and V8 agents on the same server. That's not supported, but if you have a V6 agent and you want to feed that information in, you can. And you can also feed that information in, and then we have this what's called the generic metric viewer, which will allow you to view those. Even if we don't have a pre-configured dashboard, you can view the metrics. You can pick which metrics you want to view and show those in the dashboard as well. So it's basically create your own dashboards for the agent.
Great. This kind of goes back to some of the scalability questions we had earlier. If I want to run 4,000 agents, then should I request 2 instances? And what are the implications of having more than 1 instance for the same company?
The main implication, yes, you can request 2 instances. Now, the main implication is that right now what that means is 2 separate UIs. So you're only going to be able to see 2,000 in one UI and then 2,000 in the other. So what you would want to do in that case is, if there's a logical split, maybe different applications, then you could set those up in different views. If for whatever reason you need all 4,000 in the same view, then the on-premise offering would be a better fit there, because the SaaS offering doesn't yet scale to that. Now, we are working on that type of scalability as well, which we call horizontal scalability, but we're not there yet. So 2 instances would be fine. Just means 2 different UIs to view it.
Great.
Or just to clarify, before I finish that one off, I went off and mentioned on-premise. So 2 different instances, 2 different views, or on-premise, and that way you can view. You do have the horizontal scalability with the V6 solution, V6, V7, and so you can. There's really no limit as far as how many agents you can view there.
Great. Excuse me. Can I define different roles based on access to APM UI?
Yes, you can. So we do have role-based access control, and so you can specify users and what applications and what resources they can see. So that if you've got a user group that just needs to see the WAS servers, or just needs to see a specific application, you can set that up.
Great. Besides component level monitoring, can we do URL monitoring and synthetic transactions? Or sorry, I think
No, that's right.
Okay.
Yes. Well, sorry. The answer right now is no. We don't have that yet. We do have that coming. So I guess it's good that I had the disclaimer up, because we are talking about some futures, or at least I'm guilty of going there. But that is targeted for October release. So it should be the end of October. I think the exact date is October 26th, but don't hold me to that yet. Doesn't matter, because I'm not supposed to give a specific date anyway, so let me just say it's targeted for October timeframe, late October. So look for that. We should have an announcement come out sometime towards the last week of October, and it will also show up on Service Engage as a new service. So that's coming.
Great. And is there a minimum number of agents allowed?
No, there's no minimum. So if you want one, if you want to try out one, and sorry, I said try out. I'm not speaking just of the trial. But if one's all you need, then that's fine.
Great. Well, that looks like that's all of our questions, and that took us almost to the full hour there, so excellent.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks a lot again. I had one a couple of weeks ago, and we had about the same amount of time for questions, and I think that's really great, because there's a lot of great questions, and again, like I said then, it's great to hear the feedback and the types of questions being asked, because that helps me a lot. So really appreciate it. I hope my answers helped you. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Yep, and definitely thank you again, Todd. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending. We'd love to hear your feedback as well on the event, so do take a few moments to fill out your post-event survey, and we'll take your comments and use it to improve our future events. But this does conclude the conference, and have a fantastic day.